Governor Pritzker says in the coming days, there's a good chance that we could see some easing of the pandemic restrictions. And here to talk more about keeping the numbers down so that we can eventually do that is Dr. Zich. Hey, Dr. Zich, good to see you again.
Good morning.
Well, good morning to you. I guess it all depends on how well we do with keeping these numbers down, but I'm kind of looking at some of these states that have fully reopened. I mean, Texas, Florida, which never closed, but we got a ton of spring breakers that are going to these places where it's warm, where these states have lax guidelines. And I'm looking at, or concerned, are we going to see a surge at some point because of this?
Sure. So that's certainly a possibility. We're a little bit concerned even about all the St. Patrick's Day festivities that have been going on that might spike the virus.
Right.
The new concerns that we have, though, is that by traveling to different parts of the country, you might actually bring back one of these more aggressive variants. In Illinois right now, almost exclusively, we are seeing the B.1.1.7 variant from the UK and not really others. But when people go to other parts of the country, we're afraid they're going to come back and not only spike virus activity, but also introduce one of these new aggressive strains.
Well, what advice would you have for people who are thinking about traveling to some of these areas?
Well, first of all, CDC is still urging people to try to hang in there a little bit longer and not go on vacation if at all possible. If you've been vaccinated, we think are a little bit more confident you'll be okay, but we want everybody to still take precautions, wear your mask, wash your hands, and keep the distance, what we've been saying really for a year.
Well, there are at least 2 states that are offering the vaccinations to everybody. You know, I think in Alaska, and I think there was another state. But why aren't we able to do something like that here in Illinois?
Sure. You know, every state has its own challenges, and in Illinois, you know, we have the 3rd largest city in the country, and that presents a lot of challenges. The big issue right now is that Illinois is still mainly relying on technology to link people to vaccines. And we want to make sure we don't leave a significant percentage of high-risk people behind before we broaden this to everybody else. And there is still a very significant percentage of the population that simply can't navigate the technological aspect of finding a vaccine. And so we want to make sure we get everybody, or as many people as possible in the high-risk groups vaccinated before we move on to everybody.
Okay, let's talk about this survey that NPR, National Public Radio, did recently. And in this survey, they found that 49% of Republican men and 47% of Trump supporters, and there were some other numbers, but they wouldn't get the vaccine if it's available to them. And now there are a growing number of people who want the president to urge some hesitant supporters to get that vaccine, which he did last night when he was on with Maria Bartiromo. Do you think that's going to make a difference?
The psychological factors in this demographic group is extraordinarily complex. There's not an easy answer, but the bottom line is the more people in leadership positions that can deliver believable and accurate information that combats all the misinformation out there, the better off we're going to be.
Well, okay, let's talk a little bit about, really quickly before we wrap up here. You've addressed this before, but you say you've been getting a lot of calls nonstop from patients who are worried about the vaccine's impact on their fertility. What do you want them to know right now?
You know, that's a great question, and it's a bit frustrating from the medical perspective because we don't know where this started. There is absolutely no reason why we should think that this vaccine is going to impact fertility any more than any other vaccine. There is no reason to hesitate, but I've been getting this both from female and male patients that are trying to start a family. So I want people to know, go out and get that vaccine. It's important, and don't worry about any effects on fertility.
Yeah, but Dr. Zich, when I was pregnant, I remember the doctor saying, don't take this, don't take that, don't do this. I mean, I couldn't even take, you know, Advil or ibuprofen, and you're saying the vaccine's okay?
So pregnancy is a little bit different, but we still believe it's safe in pregnancy. These are people who are planning to get pregnant that somehow heard that they're not going to be able to conceive if they get the vaccine.
Got it. Okay.
And again,
all right.
This is the misinformation that's out there.
Okay, and that's why we have you to clear it all up. Hey, Dr. Zich, good to see you. Thank you very much for coming on the show this morning.
Same.
All right.
Thank you.
Coming